are the yuba sheets. So I brushed it with egg white and then sugar with spices. I'm gonna let it sit, and then we're gonna set it in the oven. So kind of like a riff on a churros. So we're gonna serve this with a custard.
Damn. Dang, what's in here?
It's basically like a pudding, right? It's
Yeah.
soy milk, your soy milk,
You can taste it.
white chocolate.
So I really didn't want to manipulate the soy milk any more than I had to, and I played around. I probably did like 7 or 8 batches. I wanted to do a pudding. Honestly, what I ended up doing, I just took straight soy milk, agar, salt, and sugar, and that's it. So that's the base for the dish.
So I want to begin by introducing Min Tsai. Min has this wonderful mission to introduce Americans to the glories of tofu. So he has put together these Tofu Disrupts to really disrupt our thinking.
We are here today more than a decade after I started the business, but it's still really early days. Tofu has only been introduced formally for about 30 plus years in the US. So I'm actually very hopeful to really innovate and get people thinking about tofu both as an ingredient in the kitchen as well as something that they can use at home. One of our goals here is for you to be able to, for the first time perhaps, really taste the flavor of tofu itself. And one of the reasons we do this event is we also wanted to learn from the chefs around here because they really enlighten me about textures and flavors.
My thought process when I'm cooking is kind of like from seed to stock mentality. How can we utilize everything and not waste, be sustainable, and make it taste delicious? And I think that's where you start getting more creative.
In terms of technique, my question is, where are we borrowing or sort of stealing our techniques from? Is it like mostly Japan? Or do we have to come up with truly what we call creative and innovative techniques that in fact are like French or American or Western in style in order for tofu to be a viable product in America?
I think yes and no. I think certainly a lot of chefs are starting with the Asian techniques that they know, and then from there they expand. The creative new dishes are only going to last if they're actually delicious.
I think now's a really perfect time to bring the chefs up here so that they can talk about their own approaches to tofu.
I got the firm tofu and I miso cured it for about 4 or 5 days and then seared it when I got here. I used the nama yuba, which reminds me of almost cheese. It's delicious, and I lightly cold smoked it, and that's kind of the base. And then I went to the farmer's market on Saturday and got a bunch of peas, favas, green strawberries, green garlic, and made a ramp vinaigrette with those, and it's kind of the salad part, and then some raw little radishes and turnips. And then I got the yuba, fried it. I dehydrated some okara and kind of pulsed it with cilantro delfino seeds and lemon zest and kind of made it so there's more of like a texture on top of the yuba tuile.
I wanted to do a soy pudding or a tofu pudding, and realistically I found that the soy milk itself was just such an incredible product. I wanted to do as little as possible. It's topped with a bonito froth, a bonito butter froth. It's topped with caviar. Lastly, the component we wanted to highlight was just one spring vegetable, so we're doing a few takes of spring onion. So you'll notice a green crispy cake component. It's a spring onion cake, and lastly, spring onion flowers.
So my first dish is I really wanted to highlight the already amazing nama yuba. I did shiitake soy and little crispy anchovies and a little bit of micro cilantro. So it really just highlights the flavor and the texture of the nama yuba. For the second dish, I decided to go a little bit bolder and use the yuba and make them into noodles and paired it with a spicy lemongrass sauce. And then I topped it with a little bit of peanut and cilantro and green onion.
I took his braised tofu and I mixed it with Chinese sausage and Malaysian beef jerky and ginger and scallions and shallots. You know, I kind of made a relish out of it. I have some house-made bao buns and a house-made pickle, and we put that relish on that. And then I took his great soy milk, one of the best I've ever had. Probably the best I've had. Let me just say, it's the best I ever had. Yes. And I mix that with a little fermented tofu, and I put that on top of the bao, and then I just gratinate it, and it kind of has this burnt chard on top. And so that's my interpretation and what I wanted to do with tofu today.
So I did two things. So there's a pecan tofu cookie. And the second dessert, what I did was I created a version of a Mont Blanc, and I paired it with strawberries and Earl Grey tea just because I thought the flavor profiles kind of balance each other nicely. I used the soy milk and made a custard base and emulsified it with the naba uba. I created a tofu buttercream, and it's nice to see it not as a substitute, but an actual flavor profile up against these traditional pastry elements.
I actually had to bring the list up because there's so much stuff on here that we put on the plate, it's kind of ridiculous. So we started out with a geodesic dome, filled it with soy milk and Ecuador chocolate from Guittard. We did a series of custards. So we used this 31% Guittard white chocolate, and then we just emulsified it with a lot of soy milk. We used the yuba and tried to make it like a churro. We did the coconut husk alfajor, filled it with it's like a dulce leche. So we made a biscotti with the dry soybeans, toasted okara toffee mendiants. And then the last thing was a horchata. So we did a horchata in a little glass. Basically, it's served by itself.
I'm hearing some growling of stomachs. I think it's time to eat. Really beautiful layers of flavor. So the tofu is wonderful texture. These have really nice structure, and I'm enjoying that a lot.
There's a smokiness and freshness that just explodes in your mouth. Really, really good.
Amazing.
Loved tofu before, but we've never had it this way.
Ready to try this? What are you going with first?
I think this is the okara. I think so.
Yeah, what do you want? Can we just try? This thing looks so beautiful.